think I'm starting to really hate hack culture. What I mean by this is that a lot of people like getting one over general wisdom or information, common knowledge, etc. Oh, this hair hack. Oh, this food hack. This relationship hack, right? I think Adam Ragusea spoke to how often when you're writing for the algorithm, what ends up happening is that you have to distill the message of your point into something that makes the other person, the receiver, excited. The thing is about hacks, the thing is about cheating, is that when you cheat on an exam, by learning all the answers beforehand, by figuring out the answer key and copying that, you are correct in that you get the intended end result of the 100%, but could you replicate it when things are different? When things are changed, when that answer key is not exactly correct? A lot of these hacks to me feel like that, like cheating, and not the good kind of cheating. The good kind of cheating that really enables you to engage with the world aside of systems and requirements that demand something of you that the job does not. I don't need to tell you when it's the right time to cheat, because I feel like you will know. I like to think that we still have a sense of understanding for what is needed from us, what is required of us, between something that we're going to be doing lifelong versus something we're going to be doing for a brief moment. But I find that hack culture is everywhere, especially in ads recently. There are a lot of advertisements that are built around, hey, isn't the base parts of your career or your job or this thing you enjoy so difficult? Don't you hate video editing? Don't you hate having voiceover? Don't you hate having to gather materials like this? Well, don't worry. With this service, you don't even need to lift a finger. You don't even need to make the video. You don't even have to be a part of the creation. And I could see why that'd be a tempting fantasy, because we're in a generation of people who want recognition without having done the work. And not all work is virtuous either, right? Sometimes people do work the old-fashioned way, the painful way, the tiresome way, for one of two reasons. One, because they feel fulfilled doing it, and that's a fair reason to. That's a fair reason to elongate your work process. That is a valid reason. The other way is to make your content authentically a homage. What's the word for loving recreation? When people want to make a vintage style video or vintage style thing, they'll use the old ways in order to fulfill that, right? Those are both good reasons to go the long way around. But as the technology we have around our hobbies increased, we have to do less and less of frame-by-frame compositing or sound mixing. Even when I edit these videos, I use something by the name of text-based editing, which allows me to see my entire speech as though it were an essay. And it allows me to use my writing brain to interface with that and figure out what has better flow over other phrases and such. And still I have to edit. I know how to cut out sounds, voices, bits, but we're getting more and more tools. But I think that there's something fundamentally different about the attitude toward work that hack culture has, that these ads have for learning how to video edit or learning softwares well enough to be able to function using them. Effort doesn't always translate into a good product, but often if there's a good product, you know that a lot of work's been put into it because of how specific it is. There's this thing in the V-Roid space where, we all come off a little bit samey because we all use the same bases, same bodies, same models. Unless we add in our own hair, add in our own textures, the more effort we put behind the V-Roid, the more distinct it becomes. And that distinctness is attractive. Knowing that you're a little bit different from everyone else, knowing that people can tell that too. That can be a good vibe for a lot of people. Just even an artistic change to all the same resources can make you look very, very different. And in order to enact that change, that style, you've got to know the basics. You've got to do your homework. Sure, there's a hack that gives you perfect anime hair and a different hack that gives you perfect skin. But you put those two together, they don't match up. They come from two different methodologies, two different modalities. Often hacks are experiences, very, very strong, powerful means to cut down on a workflow of a specific person, condensed to a minute. But when you start stacking hacks instead of figuring out how to do it in and of itself, your art is a hodgepodge of several different people's ideas. To perform a basic maneuver. You must draw from several different disciplines, from people who have their own different ways of doing that same thing, unless you learn it by yourself first. I'm getting real frustrated with the idea of labor-saving devices that seek to remove all the labor of what makes that thing interesting in the first place. Or rather, through enabling us, doesn't allow us to have to work under constraint, under pressure. This fantastic line Brennan Lee Mulligan said during one of their D&D games is that, yes, you have the opportunity to choose your path, but you weren't there when the waystones were laid down. Sure, you have your choice of 5 or 6 presets or ideas or builds that the automated editor has for you in that ad, but if you wanted something very, very, very specific, how do you hack that? How would you go about doing that? We're very results-oriented nowadays. I think it's very clear by, the highest echelons of humanity and how they operate, always on a profit, always on a high. They profit off of people who are process-oriented, who enjoy the work, or at least find enough pride in the work that they do moment to moment that in and of itself that's worthwhile. Ding, 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 10 minutes.